What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 87 of Value Town. I'm ChanManV, and joined here today by Noxious. How's it going, man?
Pretty good, as usual. Just another week of World of Warcraft at this stage.
Oh, God. Oh, my. World of Warcraft, or World
Yep.
of World of Warcraft. Or Heroes of World of Warcraft is actually how we should put it.
The Hearthstone MMO, right?
Yeah, exactly. Also joining us today, Reynad. How's it going, buddy?
Hey man, I'm good.
All right, good stuff.
I was gonna try to squeeze a stream in today, but then I realized I got stuff to do tonight. I don't think I can. Feel bad. Nah, well,
Okay.
but yeah.
Miss some of those cool decks you've been playing, but we'll talk about at least some of those decks here today on the show. And then Firebat, fresh off of Batstone, and a nice visit to the dentist. How you doing,
Hi.
man?
Doing good. Still a little numb from the dentist, but I'll try and power through it. Try not to sound too goofy with half my tongue asleep. But
Yeah, just don't bite it off, man. That's all good. Last thing we need is you like bleeding to death on air here. All right, well,
That'd make for a change, though. I don't know, man.
a nice
make
change
a
of
change.
Change of pace.
keep it fresh around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, man. All right, well, lots to talk about today. A patch came out, so we'll talk about the things in the patch, which are like the welcome bundle or some of the arena changes. Of course, Batstone with Firebat Hero will get a recap or just an analysis of how the tournament went and why it was so successful, since the community seemed to respond very well to it. Then we'll do our week in Hearthstone, where we talk about the decks that we've been playing and maybe some other cool things that we've been seeing, including Tavern Brawl. I figured it's one of those fun pick 3 cards, so which cards are gonna kind of win that meta, so we could see which 3 cards we think are the best. And then we'll end things with viewer Q&A. You guys can tweet your questions to either myself at ChanManV or also the show, ValueTown GG, and we'll take all those questions at the end. All right, so let's kick things off with the patch. So one thing in the patch, of course, one of the big things is the welcome bundle that they announced earlier this week, or almost a week ago, where they're giving us a free legend for $5. They're giving us a legend as well as 10 packs from the classic set. So you guys end up purchasing yet? It's like a crazy good deal, so I was wondering if you guys have purchased it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I just want to get my collection golden at some point. So I guess if I can get all that dust for $5, yeah, I mean, it's probably worth it. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Sounds
I think definitely for the dust it's worth it. Ray, you get it yet?
No, I'm trying to avoid logging in as long as possible.
What?
Oh man. All right.
Okay, all right.
Real talk.
Yeah, man. Okay, Firebat, how about you?
Yeah, I haven't got it yet. Probably get it and then just save the dust for whenever the next expansion comes out, so I can craft what I need without having to spend more money. It's good value
Yeah.
to play.
So Reynad just doesn't want to log on. That's it. You're done. Or you have stuff to do and you can't just.
I don't know, man. I gotta grind to legend quick. I have like a rank left to go, and then I can just.
Okay.
I'm just gonna start streaming like nothing but wild. I think.
Yeah,
Just
that'd
to
be
see
fun.
if that's better. Yeah, the thought process is like, since Blizzard's like ignoring it, it should be a better format, hopefully.
Wow.
I actually made that
Oh
exact
my
argument on stream, and like in one of the videos
Oh,
recently, I was like, you
man.
know what? I'm pretty sure Wild is better to play because Blizzard is not paying attention to it.
God, you guys.
To be fair, they do pay attention to standard. It's not like they ever make changes there either, though. So maybe it doesn't matter. It's like same thing. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, speaking of some changes, they did make some changes to Arena, which they also announced shortly after the show. So it's been roughly a week, but it did roll out today in the patch. And what they ended up doing was removing a lot of cards from the card pool for Arena. So these cards that are listed here will basically not be pickable in Arena. And I guess it's their way of just improving some of the classes. They also mentioned down below that they may be tweaking frequencies of cards, like give certain class cards just to help balance in that standpoint too. What do you guys think of this, or at least this approach to balancing Arena? Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I just think it's pretty inelegant as a solution, but it's pretty obvious from what they said that it's going to be like a temporary fix to an issue. But it just kind of goes to show that I feel like they hadn't put enough thought into, like, I keep thinking about all the time they spend on expansions, they're so far ahead of time in development, and I get the feeling they're just not future-proofing as they go along whenever they make content. And Arena is kind of one of those formats where it just wasn't thought through enough for what they ended up doing with the game. So I'm not exactly sure where the design team fails, just in general, or whoever's in charge of making those rarity decisions, whatever the case may be. But something's not happening. It's just kind of weird. I'm hoping the next drafting format, if there's a change to the way Arena works, is just better.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the removal of cards, I mean, this is the biggest change they've ever made to Arena, and I feel like outside of the Cthulhu cards, this is the first time where we're actually seeing the game formats. I guess outside of Standard and Wild too, but we're seeing them start to fork. At least from the standpoint of Arena. And do you think this is? You think they're going to revert this back once, I don't know, 2017 comes around and come up with some elegant solution, or do you think this is just the beginning of just like a completely different card pool for Arena?
I don't know about card pool. Just a different format would be good. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna make a video about this, but yeah, just like the main problem with Arena now is you're always drafting the same deck regardless of what class you're playing, which is just emphasis on curve and stuff like that. It's impossible to draft for synergy. You don't have like the whole self-correcting environment that other limited formats do when you're drafting with like 8 other people. If certain classes are too good, like Mage, there would be like 5 people trying to draft it. So like all of a sudden the Priest would be winning because you'd be the only Priest player at the table. So you can't there's like all these natural things about Arena just because like the way you draft that make it tough to be like the best limited format, but this is a good like band-aid fix for now, and I'm just glad they did something. I think it's good for the game, at least short term. Hopefully they do something bigger down the line, but I mean it's also not perfect, right? They should have probably kept Wind Speaker and gotten rid of like Wind Fury.
Yeah, that's true. How about you, Firebat?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I'm happy they're doing anything. Like, it is such a struggle to get Blizzard to change things at all. The fact that they've actually, taken initiative and done something is fantastic. Couldn't be happier about it. Like, it's a huge step in the right direction. Hopefully this gets positive feedback, and then that positive feedback snowballs into them making more changes, which gets more positive feedback, and we can start fixing the game and actually doing things, responding with the community, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So I'm really happy. I don't understand one thing about the Arena changes is there's so many people complaining about Standard, and there's always like, one guy on Reddit complaining about Arena in comparison. How come Arena is the only format, we get responses about? Like, most of the time, I've read these responses from Ben Brode or these responses from other like developers on Reddit, and they've always like addressed the big Arena problem. And how is that problem bigger than the constructed problem? Like, why is there like never this is a response to your complaints about constructed things? It's always, this is your response. Here's our response to your complaints about Arena, and it's like. Right. I feel like a lot more people play Standard than they do Arena. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, there's no question. There's more.
It's just like a hidden, huge player base for Arena that I'm not seeing, and that's why this is the main priority. But I don't get how like Standard isn't a bigger priority.
And you're right about that, but like the things people are complaining about for Standard are because of like philosophical differences in Blizzard's design. Yeah. So it's kind of like more subjective. Whereas with Arena, they were just like blatantly wrong about rarities and things like that. You can't like not address it because it was inexcusable, Whereas Standard, most of the issues stem from like, hey Blizzard, we think your philosophy sucks in these cases, change it, and then they respond with not responding at all.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's the same as saying "fuck you" or we're mulling over it over a glass of wine, and probably not really go back.
No, they don't even say that.
Money. It's not. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's just like the time span between. Like, even the discussions of changes is just way too long. And it's really just this time problem that just gets to me, because I feel like even though they might be taking all the feedback into consideration, looking at their metrics, looking at their data, I can't understand why it can't be just a little bit, speedier, I guess, when it comes to at least divulging information about changing the works.
It just might be one of those things where they don't like to say anything until they know for sure it's coming out, at least in a reasonable amount of time. It could be just simply that. And I think there's a lot of internal things when it comes to process that needs to be worked out and changed on their end before they can even get to the point where they can, really start telling us what's in the pipeline, and at least from a reasonable standpoint. Like if they tell us something that's like 6 months from now, it might even what they're doing or planning to release 6 months from now, it might not even be relevant to just our issues like right at this moment. So I bet it's something to do with that. With Arena and this change, I'm glad they're doing this. I still can't believe they haven't changed rarity on some of the cards though. But this is a pretty big thing, and I think this is maybe sets up for some more changes in the future. This is kind of like resetting some baseline stats for them to see how the class distribution is, making some of the classes better by removing stuff. But we'll have to see if they, how that ends up. Is Mage still going to be crazy after all this? And if it is, then we're going to have to see more changes, right? So, but quite a few cards removed here. That's definitely good. One of the things they could have done too, guys, is like just make bad cards better, right? I mean, that would just require a lot of cards to be changed. So this one seems to be a little bit more manageable in terms of design, or at least, like them making an efficient decision. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a good fix. I think it's better than making bad cards better, because, you still need some amount of bad cards. Like, otherwise you're going to have like an overpopulation of mediocre cards, then the draft gets a little weird in that sense. So there needs to be some, bad cards. There needs to be some okay cards. There needs to be some good cards. It's just the distribution of those over the classes was one of the big problems. And another big problem with Arena that a lot of people have been talking about is, as the card pool for Arena just continues to expand, it's starting to become better to play around nothing than it is to play around things.
Right.
Like, you just don't know what to play around anymore because they just have so many options available to them. And that causes a problem. If the metagame's unpredictable, then you can't counter the metagame. Then it feels like your decisions matter less, and so forth. Then it feels like you're just going to, whatever the website is that tells you the Arena tier list. Yeah, the Hearth Arena tier list. Track the best tier every single time, because that's all that matters, because there's such a wide range of things at the best tier slots that it's impossible to predict the metagame and make adjustments to counter that metagame that would exist. So, like, in a perfect world in Arena balance, I would say it would be really entertaining for me and maybe some other people if the person that goes to the Hearth Arena list picks all the best cards in the tier list, just loses pretty consistently to the guy that is going to be countering that by, like, knowing, well, that's the best on the tier list, but because that's the best on the tier list, I can make this deck archetype work with these cards and sort of things like that.
Right.
Yeah, like, if there were more ways to draft, basically, because, like, going back to the way that, it's done in other games, it's usually players control what other players get to play, right? So one of the ways you can build is, like, I'd love if Arena was more of a, not a sealed necessarily, but something like that, where you just get to pick a bunch of cards and you select, a certain amount of them. So, like, you could actually try to draft, I'm going to go crazy, but, like, Murloc, because you'll be happy to just pick some, half-assed 3-mana 3/3 that buffs your other Murlocs, and then as the draft goes on, they're not forced to be in your deck. So later on, like, if it turns out you don't have enough Murlocs to make the deck work, then you just give up on the idea. But if there are, then suddenly maybe you've got something there to synergize with. And that's something that the Arena just doesn't let you do. Like, there's no going back to your decisions. You can't. That's right. Hindsight is irrelevant. Like, your deck is over. As soon as you pick a card, it's there forever, which makes the whole process very linear and boring.
But if they made it more complicated, I don't understand how new players could really be able to connect with it emotionally and figure it out.
Dude, I couldn't do it. I couldn't.
I think they can handle it. No, I agree with you, Noxious. I think that's much better. And we saw it in the Red Bull Temple Storm sealed event back in March, right? And it was great. It was fun watching you guys, kind of watch the draft and then get a chance to, at the event itself, talk about, okay, well, Paladin looks kind of good. Oh, wait, now we're getting all these other cards now that, like another class looks good. That's definitely a big issue with Arena right now, just not even being able to commit to any synergy with the cards, because you don't know if you're going to get the rest of them, right? So, really plays for a boring type of, or forces you to play kind of a boring type of draft. Okay, well, also with the patch comes a new hero, which is our first priest hero, Tyrande Whisperwind.
Noxious? Yep, that's right.
Noxious,
that's the name.
Your thoughts on the new hero?
Nobody cares. Like, literally, no one cares. I'm pretty sure no one cares.
What?
No. Listen. Wait. No one really cares about the fact that it's a night elf. Besides, probably
it's a
me.
night elf. Okay. Sure.
So wait, my big problem isn't. It's not even a problem. It's just one of those disappointments where, like, they've got this crazy world of Warcraft with a lot of diversity and presentation of characters and races, and like all we've got are orcs, humans, night elves, Illyria, like Valyria, they're high elves or some shit. I don't know, they're elves, whatever. Elves and humans and orcs, and then you've got like the one Magni Bronzebeard, right?
It's a dwarf, and we got a Murloc, and
yeah, I mean the Murloc was one of the cool ideas. The thing is, I don't get why all the other playable races, like how are undead not a thing?
Yeah.
Undead's not sexy, man. That's why it's not undead. It's night
Murloc's
elves.
not sexy. I guess Murloc is funny, so
Murloc fits in a meme. There's no meme for undead. There's no sex appeal with undead. You got to either fit a meme or have sex appeal to make it in the game. That's how Hearthstone works, right?
okay.
Oh,
Is that how you?
That's life, man.
Really?
You
That's
got meme or you got sex appeal.
What?
It's your two options. Pick a road.
So Confessor Peltris or Yogg Saron, right? It's one of
There
the
you
other.
go.
I see. I see how it is.
oh man. Well, it's another card back that you can only get from some special promotion, and that's really nice for a lot of people, especially a lot of people that play other Blizzard products like WoW and Heroes of the Storm. But I'm not one of those people, actually. I mean, I used to play WoW, way back when, but Heroes of the Storm I don't play much, and I would like to be able to buy these skins at least at some point. I hope they could. I think I mentioned it before, but I hope they start considering that, because hardcore Hearthstone people, I think, should have the ability to get every skin available in this game. Not to mention they'll just make money off of me, right? So hopefully they don't keep it so that it's just like you have to play WoW for, I don't know, X number of levels, because I still don't have those. It's like,
You haven't done them? Okay, dude.
Yeah,
you
I
need to
still haven't
hop
done
on.
them.
I'll help you do it at some point. After the show.
you gonna play for me?
We'll just do this shit real quick. You'll get your skins or whatever, and then you can move on with the next time you have to log on, when they give you another skin that you have to do.
All right,
I'll be there
all
as
right.
well.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
But I agree with you. I think you've got a good point there.
yeah.
Cross promotion is good, but yeah, what do you think of of that thing? Like Firebat, have you even gone through WoW to get the skins, or just not at all?
No.
No,
I played WoW for like an hour, walked around a lot, did quests or whatever, and then I was like, yeah, it's kind of boring, and then stopped playing, and it's my entire experience with the game. I don't know anything about the Hearthstone lore or WoW lore or anything about the game at all. I just know there's a lot of walking involved in the game. Very
So I
time-consuming.
mean, Firebat's a perfect example too, right? Like, you don't want to play those other games. You just want to play Hearthstone. So it'd be nice if it was available to you. Ray, I mean, you're somebody that definitely, from a completeness standpoint, with golden cards and everything, I know you're a big person on that. Do you have all the skins right now?
I don't have the WoW one. Is that the only? I think I have the other ones.
You have
What
the
else is hard
iPhone
to
one
get?
and everything too?
Like Khadgar?
Yeah, Khadgar.
Yeah, I have him.
Okay.
I got most of them. Some of the card backs I don't have because I'm like lazy. I don't like doing the heroics.
oh man,
It's not that I don't like it. I just never like feel in the mood to do it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, some of the card backs, you just, unless you go to literally every single event, you can't have them all, right?
You got to go to
What do you
China
mean?
for one.
Yeah, the Chinese ones. That's like the one. That's the only annoying one though. That's the only one.
The Gold Series one.
Yeah, but what's like another one that's actually hard to get? Like there's nothing really.
well, the discontinued ones, if you haven't been
BlizzCon
around,
one.
for
Yeah, the
instance.
BlizzCon one. You don't get the BlizzCon one with the virtual pass, right? Like, I think you had to.
Yeah, you do.
Do you?
You have to,
okay.
like-
Okay, if you got it.
You get it with the virtual pass.
But
the
$40
BlizzCon
for a card
And
pack.
then there's one if you have to like attend a preliminaries event to get one,
Oh,
and then
God, that's
you
right.
need to get
Seriously?
like
Yeah,
Which one's
pretty
that?
it's like bluish. I don't know, but
The power core, you mean?
I think
No,
that's.
I don't know.
There's
They
like-
gave
there's
them
one for
out to all of
pre-launch.
the people that got to championships
Yeah.
in winter. And
I think isn't it the same one as the China one? They just exported it to NA. I thought they did that
Oh,
for NA EU. And
maybe
it's like
it
the
is.
exact same back.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes.
Wait,
the
the
golden
golden
celebration.
one? You got the golden celebration for the prelims?
I think you do. I thought that's what they did, but maybe I'm wrong. I might just be flat out wrong on
Let me
it.
look at people's Twitter because people were tweeting it out, but I got to go back a few.
It's actually like a big deal. That's like if they're actually giving out the golden card back for that, I might actually like.
Yeah, they do. Now
for
rewarding
that.
golden celebration to card backs for people who make it to HCT championship. Yeah, golden
Yeah.
celebrations go into like anybody who makes it the prelims. I think.
Shit.
Makes it to, yeah. They actually extended it to NA and EU. I think.
Should have been playing those.
See, that's motivation.
Reynad's like
motivation to qualify for HCT, guys. Right there. Card backs.
Yeah. Completion of card backs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they extended it because a lot of people were complaining that it was like restricted.
Okay. Firebat, you still looking for something or no?
No.
Okay, just making sure. Let's see. Anything else in the patch that's interesting? I think that's it, really. Anyways, yeah, I think that's it. Again, the bundles. I think that I didn't get a chance to mention, but I think the bundles, the sale is a good idea. I wish we had more of them. You know, like we have some seasonal sales, like during Christmas. Wait, actually, we don't have one during Christmas, which is weird. But you know, they've definitely done some sales before, but never like to this extent. And I maybe given the timing and given just like a lot of people, you know, just being upset about other things, you know, it seems to be a good timing for it. But generally speaking, I think it would just be a really, really great idea. And I mean, my son got a Jiraxis for the first time, and he was like super excited about that. So he's definitely still got a lot of holes in his classic set. I got Scenarius, no big deal. For me, it's just dust. but overall, it's definitely good. All right, why don't we start talking about some Batstone here? So this is the event that just happened yesterday. This is kind of why Valuetown is on Thursday instead of Wednesday. But Firebat hosted and casted, planned, organized everything. This an event with 8 players and with 13 cards banned from the current pool. Some voted from the community, some chosen by the players. And it was a one-day event, just single limb. Just wanted to talk about the event and how it went, given that the community responded really, really well, especially on Reddit. Firebat, yeah, just I guess thoughts. Just start us off on how it went.
It went better than I, was hoping it would go.
Yeah.
The games were actually, really cool, which was a big up because, you do this, you ban some cards, you ban the RNG cards, that's going to, improve the game because there's not going to be RNG deciding, like no Yogs deciding anything is just fantastic right there.
Yeah.
But then when we started getting into the other bans and people started banning some core cards, eventually at the end of it, I was looking at the list and I was like, there could be just like everyone playing Zoo still or some weird sort of things like that. But it ended up being like a Murloc Paladin meta, which was really cool to see. It caused a lot of wacky control decks and crazy things like that. So I was really happy with how it went. I think a lot of the players being good sports and, playing towards trying to make the game more interesting for this tournament really helped out. Like a lot of like Super JJ was the only player that brought aggressive decks. Everyone else was playing like crazy control on control, weird shenanigans. So, all the players kind of were having fun with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm showing just all the cards that were banned. And yeah, a lot of these cards were... so was this something you came up with after you saw the feedback from the community bans? Or was this something you had planned already as a twist?
This was planned to try and hype up the event. So like I did the community bans, and then before that was even done voting, I already had all the players I wanted to invite, and I already had all of their bans ready. So
nice.
Then I was like, all right, so we're gonna get the Reddit thread about the announcement. Everyone's gonna be hyped about the announcement of the tournament. They're all gonna do the voting. That's gonna be like front page, and then people are gonna realize, wait, this isn't gonna change enough, and start complaining about it, and that'll be more free advertisement. And then as soon as they're done complaining about it, and that stops becoming free advertisement, then we hit them with the twist, and then that's more free advertisement there because that's going to be a number 1 Reddit thread again. So, I really milked the advertising on it a lot.
Marketing genius here, dude.
The player intros were all like funny meme gifs, and I played off the
yeah, those were good, man.
Yep, and all the other stuff. So
yeah,
I tried to find memes associated with the players and then make those into GIFs and announce them all that way. So I think honestly that was probably what contributed to the viewership the most, was just advertising the shit out of it. That was probably a lot more beneficial than the format being, wacky or cool. It was just, I invited popular people and advertised popular people. And that's the recipe to having people watch your stuff. But overall, I thought the format was really fun and entertaining for me to watch and for me to cast. So a lot of viewers gave positive feedback and said so as well. Mm-hmm. And the players also said it was really fun to prepare for and really fun to play in.
Yeah, and just want to mention there, folks, that might not have seen it too. This this was an event where there was no prize pool. You know, all these people were just playing because they want to participate in something, at least an event that's trying something new, you know, with the community, and that's, you know, that's really awesome. And of course, you know, you organizing this, you know, you're not getting any cash from this, but I don't know, all you're getting is views basically, I guess, on your channel, which I guess can be can be looked at upon as you getting something, but for the most part, you spending all those hours like planning this and the production of it too is really mostly for the community. So that's definitely awesome. Did you start planning this a week ago, or was it before that?
There are people talking to me about like formats in Hearthstone and saying that like I was like talking on stream one time and I was like, maybe I should run a tournament with card bans, and they're like, Blizzard's not going to let you do that. And I was like, fuck it, let's do it.
Watch me go.
Yeah, that was basically what started it. It was like, it irritated me that a lot of people and a lot of tournament organizers included were afraid to make tournaments with bans in them because they're like, Blizzard's going to shut down our tournament because they're using your case as an example where Blizzard said you couldn't use card bans. So I was like, well, I'm going to try and just kind of change their mind about that so that now tournament organizers aren't going to be afraid to introduce card bans into their formats. Maybe we can, you know, inspire some new sort of formats, inspire Blizzard to maybe think about making changes, show them that people don't actually like the RNG of Yogg-Saron and Tuskar Totemic with the popular vote. So I was just trying to highlight those key points and then at the same time, you know, make a fun event. And I think actually having no prize pool was beneficial to the event because a lot of people played actually interesting decks. Like, I feel like if I would have had a prize pool, there would have been a lot more shamans in the tournament. I think that's...
What, you mean shamans without Doomhammer and Tuskar are still good?
Yeah. Shaman for sure was the best deck in the tournament.
For sure, no question.
Not a lot of people brought it because a lot of people were bringing, you know, like crazy Dragon Locks and Murloc Paladin and OTK Priests and all this sort of off-the-wall stuff. So I think it was like... But like not having a prize pool actually helped because people were just kind of more so the players just having fun with it. And I think the viewers responded quite positively to the players having fun, just trying to have a good time instead of... Whenever I watch a Hearthstone tournament now, everyone's playing like shaman mirrors and they're all just like depressed and intense the whole time and just stressed out. And so, you know, it's kind of a nice change of pace. I don't think like every tournament should be a banned tournament. I don't think that would work out very well at all. I don't think every tournament should have no prize pool and be just for fun. So I think it's just a good change of pace, and having variety to the scene is helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that has been missing, just more fun, like challenge stone. You know, we haven't had challenge stones in a while, and you know, we were talking last week that, you know, even Ray, like, you know, Tempo Storm, we haven't seen a Tempo Storm event in a while, which have always been one of the innovative ones.
We've been. I don't think there's really an excuse for it outside of like me being lazy. I mean, there have been barriers, like just certain people like behind the scenes that need to be doing stuff, just kind of, I guess, got out of the scene. So finding a replacement has been some amount of work, but yeah, it is on me at the end of the day. Like I should have been putting more energy into it, I think. But it also, the events we do aren't like, I'm not looking to do like one production guy, like quick and easy 6 hour event. Right. We used to do those a lot. So I guess maybe we should have run events like that anyway, instead of just being patient and waiting for the big stuff to get finished. But yeah, our next event is 3 weeks from now. Hasn't been announced yet, but it'll be like right after TwitchCon, middle of the week. It'll be pretty cool.
Okay.
So yeah.
Is it going to be like a LAN type of? Or you can't. Well, I'll just wait.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be a LAN.
I figured it is. Like if it takes a long time to organize it, you know, generally that means it's going to be a live LAN type of setup. Cool. That's going to be awesome, man. Good timing, at least, right after BlizzCon. Is there anything Hearthstone related? It's not BlizzCon, TwitchCon, right? Is there anything
maybe
Hearthstone related to TwitchCon?
Last year there wasn't, except for I casted the Mike Morheim and Emmett Shear show match.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome! I forgot about that.
Yeah, Morheim got ahead. I think he played
Morheim
Warlock
better
or something.
win.
I forget what it was. Yeah.
Mike better win. Holy crap. Okay, well that look
Did he
forward
win?
to
I
that
thought.
for sure. Oh wait, did Emmett win?
I don't remember.
I forget. Maybe something.
I think Emmett won.
Oh man. That's
Emmett
great.
plays a lot though. Emmett plays a lot.
Oh, does he? Oh, okay, that makes sense then. But yeah, so I think Batstone was great. Like I think, like you said too, Firebat. A lot of people are pointing at the format being like the reason, but if you look at the format, if you look really close to that format, you just really banned cards. I mean, you just basically banned or just reduced the card pool by a little bit, which is pretty similar to just a new adventure coming out. Just new cards coming out and just having a different meta. The format itself was pretty similar. So,
I mean, it's best of 5 conquest. So the actual format was exactly the same. It's just banning some cards to try and shake up the meta a little bit. And I don't know. I think it's pretty cool giving players a strategic ban. I just don't think it's going to cause a stable meta for like a long time, unless you run like 10 tournaments in it, right? Because people aren't really going to figure out what's going on. So it's a lot of people playing not the most optimal decks against each other, and because no one can really figure out the most optimal version that fast of a deck. They had like a week to prepare while knowing the card bans, and that's it.
Right.
So, and no prize money's on the line, so who's really preparing super hard in that sort of meta? So it's like, if you're going to do that sort of format, you're going to need like a big prize pool and a lot of time for players to actually figure out the meta and have incentive to do so, to figure out the meta for it to actually work competitively. So I think it was more for kind of just like a just for fun tournament rather than like something that would be super competitive for now. But I think it worked out as a good like test of concept for banning cards can still be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Proof of concept, I think it was great. And, we actually did some interesting decisions being made, that we probably wouldn't see right currently in today's meta with some of the decks that we're seeing. And that's something we had before, like before a lot of these cards that don't necessarily require, or the power level is just so high that they can swing games so much. So it was refreshing to see it. It was almost like watching Hearthstone from a year and a half ago, type of thing versus Hearthstone right now. So I think that was really good. The biggest thing, or what I was trying to get at, is just that I think the viewership got up to like 45. Did it get up to? Did it pass 50 at any point? Or
I haven't seen 50, but like 45K, I think.
Yeah, got like 46K was the peak, and then it was also on the French channel, and then another French channel,
okay, cool.
And then it was on a Korean channel, and then
what? Wow, okay, I didn't know
one other channel, and those combined got about like 10K.
So like 55.
Yeah, it's not like spectacular numbers, but like, for a Wednesday.
For an online Wednesday one?
An online Wednesday cup is all right.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, and I think it had a lot to do with, again, it just being invitational. It being, players that everybody knows.
A lot of the names need to get more towards that. Like, the whole dream of we'll run open qualifiers every time and someone will consistently make it through and they'll build their name by just pure skill. Like, it's not happening. We've tried it for a year now, right? Then there's been almost zero players that have been. There's been zero players that have been consistent the entire year. There's been like few players that have been consistent for like a few months at a time. That have been, if you count their entire tournament performance over the year, you can call those few months like an outlier in their performance, basically. Mm-hmm. So there's been no player that's been able to do the whole. If we just have all opens, players will be able to consistently do well, and then they'll build a following behind them and become famous. That's why we should get rid of all these invites and blah, blah, blah. It's just there's no storylines created around these players to make through opens because no one can do it consistently enough. And if that's the case, then I feel like you have to kind of do invites. Otherwise, no one's really going to want to watch it. And you belittle the accomplishments of the people making it through the open qualifiers, so they pick up fame even slower because once they get through the open qualifiers and they get to this tournament that has reduced viewers because there's no invites, even if they win it, people will be like, oh, well, it was just nobody A versus nobody B.
Right.
Nobody cares. So
it is.
I feel it's just always like this, though. Like, we needed to push, I think, for that direction like a long time ago, back when the only things that were run were, well, here's this, clique of like 10 dudes, and they're playing Hearthstone all the time, and that's all we have. And then once it started to become more widespread, and Reynad, I know, was a huge advocate for those larger events where you had just a lot of people coming in. The thing is, that's become like kind of the gold standard. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong.
You need a few people coming in. Like, I don't think you want to go back to the old system. The old system was just like 8 invites, that's it, no open qualifier, right? But there was like Seed Story Cup, which had 31 invites and 1 qualifier one year. Just like, that is bad.
That's just not true. Like, people keep talking about that like that was the history of Hearthstone. Like,
in like 2013 years of invite.
Yeah, 2013. Who the fuck played Hearthstone in 2013?
I played Hearthstone in 2013.
People played Hearthstone in 2013.
But that's kind of what the
I couldn't get into
Yeah,
it
the game
in
had like
2013.
the game had like 1/10 the accounts of like what it has, like less than that. It had like 1/100th the accounts
Yeah,
that it has
sure,
now.
sure. That's
But
It
that's the
wasn't even-
reference everybody
the
uses.
game-
They go back to
It
that.
wasn't
And say,
even
that's
released.
not good.
How do you have an open tournament when like the average person can't even get the key? Like when the keys were selling
True.
for $400,
I don't think
they're
they should have had
complaining
an open
that they were invites. Like,
I'm just trying to say that I don't think all invites is good. I don't
right.
think it's
No, I agree with you on that. But I also
Okay.
think like people keep talking about people keep mentioning like there was this era where there was like all invite tournaments. That's just like never the case. Like starting from the very first LAN in Hearthstone ever, it was open. Like actual LAN, once the game's like released, right? It was like DreamHack Bucharest.
DreamHack Bucharest, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was DreamHack Summer, which was like 25% qualifiers. They had like hundreds of people go through those on LAN. Yeah, it was just like we've always had qualifiers, always.
I think that system's like the best, where you have like 75% invited, 25% qualifier, or 50%, 50%, some sort of mix like that. I think is going to be the best for developing storylines, because then when the guy actually wins, that's an open qualifier, people actually care. Like it's actually an interesting. It's a storyline. It's the underdog defeating all the invited players and making it through, and then he builds fame a lot faster than someone that would just win the open qualifier, then play against other guys from the open qualifier that no one knows who any of these people are. And now, who wants to follow these guys at the end of the day? It's like, it's not as interesting, and it's not as fun to watch.
I mean, I think the answer to that question right now is that we shouldn't have like the standard of tournaments be necessarily anything specifically. Like, I don't even think it necessarily should be like qualifier heavy, or even just this hybrid to every tournament, because I even have streamers and players that are notable even tell me that, like, hey, it's like it'd be awesome if you start Deck Words again, because they don't even get a chance to go to these events anymore, some of these events anymore, and they like being in this kind of competitive environment and playing in that kind of a scenario too, or that environment too. So it's not even just the no-name players, it's actually the people on the opposite side of the spectrums too that would want to see some, I guess, more of the invitational aspect or invitational events being brought back to the community too. So we should just do some of both, right now is kind of what I'm trying to get at.
I think it would be good. I think it'll create like nothing will get stale then, right? Because you're just, as soon as they get bored of this way, the tournament scene starts doing it the other way, and that'll help keep things fresh and kind of make more people happy. But invites are really needed, especially for the North American scene, though, because for like me, if I want to go to a tournament, most of the time it's going to be in Europe, and it's going to be the standard format right now is like 128 man or 256 man, all open tournaments. My odds of making my money back on my flight to Europe to go participate in this tournament is very, very slim to none. So it's just like not worth it for any of the North American players to really go to these tournaments. And in North America, all we have to compete in is like there's DreamHack Austin, and then there's a few DreamHacks in Canada. But like other than that, all the rest of the tournaments happen in Europe. So we can't really attend any of them that aren't invitationals, because our odds of making money are too low, and our odds of even getting exposure, like getting camera time in some of those 256 mans, is pretty hard to do.
Yeah, that's I agree with that for sure. So one thing I did want to just mention, I guess, or talk a little bit about, I don't have details right now, but I had mentioned like wanting to try to get back into doing some at least events or online events, mostly because I want to experiment with some different formats, the actual different competitive formats, with how people bring in decks and what they can do with their decks and that sort of thing. More from the standpoint of competitive, the competitive side, experimenting with something that might eventually be the competitive standard versus just fun kind of challenge stone type of restrictions. So I'm going to start that up. I'm going to start that up in the form of more show matches, because I don't want to commit to a weekend long event or even just a full day event if I don't know the format is something that's going to be accepted and just something that people are going to like. So I'm going to probably start that soon, and it might be under the Value Town kind of thing. Maybe we do it after the show, from week to week, and get two people obviously a lot of folks know, whether it's streamers or players or whatnot, and have them try out a format. But yeah, so I just want to kind of let you guys know. I don't have details. I'm working on the first one already, but I do want to get feedback from like you, Firebat, and you too, Reynad. I was talking to Noxious about it earlier today, but just at least try, the first pass at this, try to get some feedback before I let you guys know. So next week I'll probably nail down the date and let you guys know. But just wanted to let you guys know that I want to kind of do something too along the lines of this, because it's a community-wide thing, and I think we just don't have enough people doing it anymore. And I used to do that. I used to do events, so it's not like this is like brand new to me either. I definitely can do them. Okay, well, why don't we move on and we talk a little bit about our week of Hearthstone. And I wanted to start off with Tavern Brawl. Did you guys get a chance to check out? I mean, you haven't even logged in, Riz. I don't even have to ask you, but theoretically, we could at least talk about it. So Tavern Brawl this week is very similar to one that we did. Very similar to one they had before, where you just pick 2 cards. That is the previous one. This week you can pick 3 cards, and you basically build a deck with just 3 cards. And it's been pretty fun. I mean, the first one was fun just with the meta. This one's pretty fun too. So I just kind of want to see if you guys got a chance to experiment with anything. Anybody? Noxious?
I haven't really had like much time to try.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of obvious things you can just give a shot, which is like one of the most obvious ones is like Malshadar's Imp with Soulfire, Fist of Jaraxxus.
Yeah, dude, that one's
cycle,
really good.
discard, like that's just really
That one's
obvious.
really good.
Innervate anything. Just honestly innervate anything. Mill Druid, you told me, was a pretty popular one where people just naturalize Cold Light with Innervate. I mean, kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that one's really popular right now.
Yeah. I haven't had I would assume just people are trying out like the Mana Worm Arcane Missiles garbage. I'm sure that's the thing.
The Ice
probably
Block
pretty bad
Fireball.
against
I haven't seen that yet. Actually, I haven't seen either of those yet. That's kind of
Frostbolt Icelands. No. Yeah.
I've probably played like I think 9 games of it, but I haven't seen a mage yet. Yeah.
Just people doing mech warper shenanigans still.
Probably.
Like you get the mech warpers and then the gorilla bots, and then you can go infinite with it.
Infinite.
Yeah, exactly right. Still haven't seen that too. Mostly I've seen the mill. I've seen like my very first one was like upgrade War Axe and Deckhand, but that wasn't like that efficient. I actually think about it now, and now that I was trying different things, but I did counter the druid. So I was playing it so much, like I literally played like 4 straight games with the other guy was playing mill druid. I just put a Prince Malgazar in my deck, and that was it. That just like countered it because I had like 60 cards actually right off the bat. It was awesome. But yeah, Ray, you're usually pretty good at this. What would you put? What would you do 3 cards?
God, I haven't even thought of it. Last time, win percentage wise, I think Upgrade Bash was one of my favorites. But there was also, like Mech Warper. I mean, just honestly, Mech Warper plus the Sabertooth thing.
Yeah,
it was. I don't think it was as good as Upgrade Bash, but it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I would try Upgrade Bash plus some other thing, and I just don't know what that last thing would be right now. Maybe like, are expensive cards even good? Ironforge Portal?
I don't think so. Just because
Heroic Strike.
there are some cards. There are some decks that just beat you in 5 turns. So you don't. It's pretty hard.
Which is what Bash is for. Like it actually really helps. Which is what like it kind of helped against Hunter, just because they were trying to flood the board. And between Bash and the weapon, you often just starve them of cards because they had no card draw. Like I don't know how it runs right now, but you could definitely starve them.
Yeah. But yeah, these Tavern Brawls, I like these Tavern Brawls the best actually, because it creates just another mini meta, and it's a game in itself versus these fun interactions. There's some other ones that are obviously fun too, but this one I feel like you could actually play with your friends, or heck, you could actually make an event out of this, like a mini event out of this Tavern Brawl, which you can't say that for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's definitely a cool one.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Next up, so decks. I have a few decks that I wanted to maybe discuss a little bit that we've been playing this week. So the one I've been playing is a Dragon Shaman, and there's been different variations kind of going around. This one's more of a mid kind of. It's pretty straightforward, but I did throw in some elements that I thought just trying out some things like Hammer of Twilight, of course, and. That's mostly that. Otherwise, it's pretty similar to any mid-range dragons. But I feel like this is really good. I feel like Dragon and Shaman works really, really good. And it wasn't something that I really considered before. I haven't even gone down the control route because I know some people are playing more of a control shaman, a dragon shaman too, with bookworms and stuff like that.
Sure.
But yeah, I've been enjoying this, and I think this climbs like every time I'm playing with it. I wish Doomhammer just wasn't there because Hammer of Twilight, I actually really like that card a lot.
I think it's good. It's not as bad as people make it out to be. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people, were trying out the mid-range lists, because Doomhammer in mid-range can feel a little bit clunky. So people were trying out Twilight in some mid-range lists. I think it just got cut. Like when Spirit Claws showed up, that just kind of disappeared. But whatever.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where the weapon was toyed around with, and it wasn't as bad as it seems at first glance. The thing is, like you say, Dragon Shaman works, but I think one of the big things is Shaman works, and if you add dragons in, then it still works. Like you're just replacing some of the
early game is so strong in Shaman that's usually the hole in the dragon decks. Yeah.
So you can just kind of get carried by what Shaman naturally does, and then you just change your swing cards. Well, not even your swing cards, just you change the gimmick of your deck, I guess, away from totems and more towards dragons, let's say.
Well, the nice thing it has good removal, and it has
Mm-hmm.
heals too, and just versatile against aggro, versatile and also versatile against its control. It's just really nice in that fashion. Where you can't say that with all the classes, especially with dragon, that you have the ability to do that. So it's definitely good in that way. Obviously, there's some just OP cards like Toadskar, Totemic. They're just always good, and of course Tunnel Trog that you just keep in there. But yeah, overall it's good. I didn't have Ysera in there for a while because I thought I could just get by with the Nether Spites and just trying to get dragons that way. But then I realized I just didn't have enough dragons, so I was like running into some times where I just couldn't proc some of these cards, and that was becoming an issue. So I just threw in a Ysera just to be a beacon at the very least.
Yeah, you have very few of them, right? You have like 5 dragons total. Like, I guess you don't need Nether Spite Historian in the deck. Like, you could. I mean, it sucks to play dragon without Nether Spite because then what's the point?
Yeah.
But I think there might be room for you to find other cards to fill in. Like again, you mentioned you didn't go the bookworm route. But those are 2 dragons. Yes, they're required dragons, but they themselves are. So Nether Spite can just cycle infinitely.
Yeah, sure.
Into them, which can help. So.
Yeah.
I don't like this Tunnel Trog, and I don't like the lack of Spirit Claws in this deck. I think Tunnel Trog doesn't have enough synergies going with it. Like it only synergizes with Bolt and Storm, right? So most of the time, and I guess Totem Golem.
Yeah.
Sure. But I mean, like most of the time, like I think Spirit Claws is going to get you more value. You got double Azure Drake and you got a Blood Mage down those. Like just for the ability to control the board early on, which is super important, especially since you don't have Rock Biters and you don't have any of the like Argent Squire, Abusive Sergeant stuff that a lot of Shaman decks typically run to control the board early on. So I think you might want to try and figure out, get rid of Tunnel Trogs and try Spirit Claws in there. I think it could help you out a lot. And I think 2 healing waves might be overkill with the amount of card draw you have in your deck. Like you have double Azure Drake, you got Manatide Totem, you got Tuskars for the chances of getting another Manatide Totem. So I don't think you're ever going to want to draw both healing waves. Like it's so much healing to need. Right?
It is, but there's been games where I've needed all 3 heals, like just to survive.
Which is what Spirit Claws will help you.
Yeah, well, actually,
like,
Claws would
I guess
help
out.
Yeah, because I'd have two removals basically.
Yeah, I want to see a second Maelstrom Portal too. I think Spirit Claws and Maelstrom Portal are insane. They're such great cards for Shaman, and you jam them in any sort of generic mid-rangey Shaman deck. Which this is a pretty mid-rangey Shaman deck, mid-rangey to like control-ish sort of area.
Yeah,
those cards just get so much value at every stage of the game. That just being able to trade efficiently and clear things. I did not think Maelstrom Portal or Spirit Claws was going to be nearly as good as they are.
Well, I'll tell you why it's good. Because you have a hero power that gives you access. Like I don't get. Like I actually made a video about this because I was so tilted about. The more I thought about it, the more it frustrated me. But I don't get why Wrath of Air Totem is a thing. Like why did they have to give the class like a totem, 1 of 4, by the way, that interacts with so many. Like why did they tie Spirit Claws to Wrath of Air? On top of Maelstrom Portal being tied to Wrath of Air, on top of Lightning Storm being tied to Wrath of Air. Like did that have to be a thing? Like I'm still not sure, man. I don't get spells like that's what boggles my mind is
that's the direction they're taking Shaman, right?
For sure.
Their class identity is spell power now instead of face. They're trying to drift it away from killing people and make it Zeus Shaman. Yeah.
Oh my god. I mean, honestly, maybe they will print like another spell damage minion, but as long as that totem exists, you can just jam those cards in any shaman deck, and it probably is going to be better than a spell damage shaman.
It is a
I mean,
roll.
you know what I mean? Like, it's just-
25% chance of getting.
That's the problem, is because the 75% you don't roll it suck, they have to overcompensate, which is precisely what they did. Like, shaman in the past,
And then
if you
when
got
they
spell
do
damage
hit
totem with
25%,
storm,
then you
uh,
can. It's
yeah,
crazy.
it's ridiculous. Like, it's just ridiculous. But like, that's kind of the problem. Is a long time ago, shaman was fine if you rolled spell damage on storm and bolt every time.
Mhm.
It was like, yeah, if I have that, consistently, my mid-range shaman can get to the mid-late.
Yeah.
But the issue was getting that because you didn't have a way to control the early board. So what they do, well, Tunnel Chalk told them Golem Tuskar, all right, now you've got your early game to compensate for those 75% that blow. And now they keep stacking more spell damage synergy, and they still maintain the early game that was meant to compensate for those 75% garbage rolls. Like, I don't get how Spirit Claws came to a. I don't know. I don't understand. I just.
I mean,
it
it's not
blows my
that
fucking
good.
mind.
It's a good card.
no,
I don't
dude,
think it's
it's
blowing
just-
anybody's mind.
Well, I
No,
think,
what
I think
blows my
Spirit
mind
Claw-
is that it's just way above. Like, it's actually pretty far above average as a card.
Well, I
I mean,
think
it's a
Spirit
weapon.
Claws is in
All
preparation.
weapons are pretty much above average.
Right.
Well, I think the Spirit Claws is in preparation for the day when Trog is going to disappear, and
Yeah.
we'll have that in place of whatever's early.
Well, when Trog disappears, so will Spirit Claws, though, right?
Is it the same
Standard
year?
will be
I
the
thought
next,
I
it'll
thought
be the
that
next
was in-
year, right?
Oh, I thought Trog was November.
No, Trug was way before that.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
It's
it-
not
it
this
was-
year. Okay.
Yeah, I think this
Never
it
mind.
goes
I don't know
away
what I'm
like
talking
a
about.
year before.
But you don't even need Trug, like in Shaman, honestly. Like, people play it, but I don't.
think it's one of the most overrated cards right now in the Shaman build
Agreed.
is the Total Trug. I think Argent Squire serves
Yeah,
the same job most of the time
Yeah,
pretty
it's just
well.
not necessary.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's one of the most commonly overrated Shaman cards for sure.
Yeah.
And I think Maelstrom Portal is the most commonly underrated Shaman card.
I just don't like that everything hinges on spell damage totem. Like, I hate that mechanic so much. I don't get it. It's always been like the most inconsistent garbage.
Trust me, you can never roll Spell Power Totem and still get #1 Legend with Shaman. No problem.
Yeah, sure, but it just
Like-
makes it frustrating because when they get it, like, the difference between both is ridiculous. Between getting it and not getting it, like, in some games it's just a loss unless 25%, 33, sometimes.
Well, I mean, there are different decks that it helps
Sure.
out.
Sometimes
Doesn't
one
matter what totem you get, right? Like
Yeah,
anything that runs things from below. That's another thing I consider in this deck too. Is just things from below, but. You decide
I
not
mean,
just
they
to
fit.
go, just decide not just to use it because I feel like it's used in every single shaman deck right now.
Yeah,
Ray,
I
what do
wouldn't
you?
mind seeing Ysera and Hammer of Twilight gone for things from below, since you do have the Nether Spite Historian
Okay,
to generate
so
like
top
super
off
late
at
game
that?
value dragons.
Okay,
Yeah.
oh, all right. Yeah, the dragons. I added Ysera purely for a little bit more consistency with dragons.
Yeah, I tried dragon. Like, have you tried other dragon decks? Like, because Netherspite Historian basically made dragon decks just in general viable, right? Like, on her own.
Oh, I played all
well,
the
viable.
classes now.
It
dragons,
compensates
It's
for card
viable,
disadvantage.
like
Ish.
viable in
Yeah.
what, like tier 4 viable, I guess.
Yeah. No, but it's like now your dragon deck doesn't get obliterated on turn 3. Like, you
There's,
actually
like,
have card draw ish.
Dragon Warrior with Nether Spite Historian, that's kind of up there on the tier list, but I think every other dragon deck that runs Nether Spite Historian isn't good.
It works.
Like the Dragon Control Warrior I'm talking about.
Yeah.
For
Runs
sure.
Nether
That
Spite
one is really good.
Flame
But I was
Tongue-
happy that that's a card.
Flametongue helps Nether Spite here, at least trade it a bit. Which that's an issue I had with like Paladin, like with Nether Spite, is just that it just sits there and it usually dies to anything that's on the board, and it's kind of a weird. You almost always play it late, just purely as a card draw type of thing. But here, like, I can actually play it early and feel okay with being able to trade with stuff on the board with Flametongue. So it was okay that way.
Sure.
Ray, what do you think of this deck? You've been pretty quiet.
Yeah, I don't like the Flame Tongue.
Okay.
If you're not playing Squire, I think
Oh,
you
I
should
see.
pick.
That's what I'm
You should pick, like, do I want to be an aggressive deck or do I want to be a defensive deck? Since you're playing Healing Wave and all that, I think you want to lean towards defensive. So I would cut the Flame Tongues and the Hammer and the Ysera. I would play, personally, Bookworm, even though it's way worse of a card than Fire Elemental. You do need to pad your dragon count. And I might even cut Tuskar Totemic, if I'm being honest.
What?
Like, if you...
Well, if you're not running things from below, I'd agree.
Right.
Yeah, okay,
Right,
yeah.
but if you want to fit things from below, that's the other line, right? If you fit things from below, then Tuskar's fine. and that's totally reasonable too. Just depends on what you prefer.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, potential. I mean, the shaman cards are so good. It really
Yeah,
doesn't
they
matter
really
which.
are. I mean, it's like you can just throw a bunch of them together, and it's going to probably get you to rank 5 at least.
I'd probably
Modern.
play a second Maelstrom too if you're playing Blood Mage Double Drake. Yeah. Oh, most importantly though, Spirit Claws, absolutely.
Yeah.
Spirit Claws second portal. I would play that for sure.
Cool. All right, I'll definitely give that a try. So next deck I want to talk about is actually one I saw you play on the stream, like maybe 3 nights ago or 4 nights ago. You kind of had like this whole. I think I was watching you play the Mill Rogue for a while, and then I saw you playing, or vice versa. And then I saw you playing this Cthulhu Rogue, Ray, like on stream. So I don't know if this is the latest version of it that you have, but
yeah.
I think you added Youthful like at the end, and it seemed to be a really good add too.
This is nothing like. Well, you changed some cards for some reason.
Oh, did I?
I never had Loot Hoarder instead of Novice. Ever.
Maybe this is like a version after I did. Do you have actually a copy of yours?
Yeah, I'm actually in the middle of playing Evermore.
Oh, okay,
now.
okay.
Well,
why don't we talk about Noxious first?
Yeah.
How about your Plate Mail Warrior, and then we'll come back to that one.
All right, so the warrior deck's basically it looks like just a control warrior, but it's taken to the extreme. Of you actually don't have like the Ragnaros, you don't have the Grom, you don't have the Alexstrasza like to win against other control decks in a bursty fashion or finish off like a mid game deck.
Yeah.
The goal is really just to armor up until the end of time and control the board, like kind of the oldest possibly,
Right.
the oldest school, I guess, control warrior. And we even play Ironforge Portal. And then we top it off with Bug Creepers and Yogg. And the goal is basically to stop all the damage from coming in. And then if your 2 brawls aren't enough, then you Yogg. And maybe you win, maybe you don't. Either way, you're probably ahead in fatigue. I thought about running Prince Malchazar. I think if Prince Malchazar replaced Elise in this deck, the deck would be better in a weird way. But it's like, just because it always gets to fatigue. If I win, it's because the guy's taking fatigue damage. Like, I don't remember winning otherwise. Unless Yogg does something crazy. But it's like, it's the ultimate fatigue deck. Like, it's just every game is 20 minutes plus. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Okay.
But it had a really good score on ladder. Like, I ran into a Murloc Paladin 6 times in a row. So I lost like an entire rank. But otherwise, it was something like 20 and 4 from like rank 4 all the way to 2 and something. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Murloc Paladin is impossible to build up enough armor to to withstand 2 anythins.
Yeah, I mean, it can be done sometimes, but they have to mess up. Like, they'd have to literally slip up and just hoard their Aldors for no reason. Or, I mean, thinking that you have, Grom or something to put down, but you don't. So if they slip up and they just never try to tempo you, then, yeah, you can win, but it's not that common.
Not likely. Okay.
What if you get rid of the Bug Creepers and the Yogg and you just jam, more removal in there, like a Gorehowl maybe?
Gorehowl? Yeah, I was thinking of a Gorehowl instead of a Bug Creeper.
Disciple of Cthulhu or something.
Disciple.
If there's some way, maybe you could play no Cthulhu, but play 2 Disciples of a Cthulhu and an Ancient Shield Bearer or something.
Just some removal. Yeah, okay. I can see that.
Something like that.
Even more armor.
I think you're gonna want a Gorehowl. Like,
Sure.
no one's playing Harrison right now in the meta, and Gorehowl is just
That's right.
disgusting with all this life.
Yeah, I guess it makes a lot of sense. I mean, Gorehowl was one of the things that Bug Creeper was swapped out for in general. Like, I just put in all the armor. That was the initial idea. And Elise, I still don't think Elise is... Like, it's not a bad card. I just don't know if for fatigue game plan it's better than Prince. I can't even believe I'm saying those words.
Well,
I can't even believe I'm saying those words right now.
Prince is definitely going to make it harder to survive. So I would say the best game plan for fatigue is having Bran Elise. So you add 2
Double.
maps to your deck, so you essentially add another card to your deck.
Yeah.
So you're slowing down your own fatigue count, and you get the random legendaries, and you get an additional random legendary compared to your opponent's cards. So as long as you're trading, reasonably well, you should be able to beat them with health and the extra card every time. You don't need to win in fatigue by a landslide, which is what Prince Malchazar kind of does. You just need to win in fatigue by just 1 health.
Barely,
Just a little bit, just barely win in fatigue. So I think the brand might be a little bit better than the Malchazar, because then you're going to be, instead of drawing into 5 dead cards and then the Malchazar, so 6 dead cards, you're going to be only drawing into the Bran and the Elise.
Bran and the
dead
Elise.
cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
At that point, you just need to slap in Disciple and the Ancient Shield Bearers because Bran is there. You might as well.
Yeah,
And then suddenly you're a Cthulhu warrior.
That's true.
You just start making, so Ironforge Portal goes out, Cthulhu's Chosen goes in, then you find a room for Doomcaller. There we go, call it a day.
That's true. Yeah, that's
But it
definitely
is like, it's basically Control Warrior, just very...
to the max.
It's even more aggravating to play off against. It's just aggravating, because I know for a fact that I've stolen games with Yogg that I don't deserve. It just makes the wins against, a mid-range Shaman so much more satisfying. Just like, this deck was fueled by Salt. Like, that's what crafted it. That's
you
what
should have
crafted
named it
it
that way, man.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I think I
It's a
had.
fun deck.
Okay, so I have Ray's Rogue now. So let's take a look at that.
Can I throw something in about the warrior?
Oh sure,
Go
yeah,
ahead,
yeah,
dude.
sure. Sorry.
All day.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so Yogg's probably like too good of a card not to play, but I feel like it's actually really awkward with Elise because with Yogg, a lot of times you want to play all your cards that would otherwise be dead, like Blood Taker and a control matchup. Like with Elise, you want to save cards like Blood Taker so you get more legendaries out of it, but then with Yogg, you want to like play them out so you get a bigger Yogg. So Elise and Yogg don't really work well together in general, so it's kind of weird. So I would actually probably play Prince. I think he's like fine, but yeah, up to you.
Yeah, that's a good point about the Elise Yogg. That's one of the problems I had was I have spells and I just can't keep them because Yogg. And I end up just with this really, really bad monkey. Like, it just doesn't do anything very often. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, well, why don't we talk about that rogue that I mentioned before? This is Reynad's most recent version that he's been playing. And yeah, why don't you walk us through it a bit here?
I'm super, super triggered that you put Loot Hoarders in your list.
I was just trying stuff out.
No, you did that. I know you did.
I did do it. I definitely did do it, but I was just trying stuff.
Not even 2 hours. I streamed this deck for like 8 hours. And
No, I did
answered
play
the
it
Loot
too.
Hoarder.
I did play it too.
Okay,
It's just I was.
All right.
It was in a weird state. Okay, I definitely played your original one too. It's very hard to play. Like at least the mill one. This was something in between it. So.
The last change I really made was I cut Sap for Shadow Strike because it plays like an attrition game plan in a lot of matchups.
Yeah.
So you don't really have like a board lead or Cold Bloods to take advantage of Sap with. So Shadow Strike's been better. But yeah, it's a really cool deck. Really fun to play. I lost to like Reno Shadowcaster one time on ladder like a few weeks ago, and I decided to try to, I guess, build a deck like without the Reno, but kind of is more likely to go infinite with Shadowcasters. So I tried this, and this deck is super, super elegant. I'm actually really happy with how it's built because you only play 3 Cthulhu buffs in the deck, right? The 2 Disciples and the 1 Blade. But you can play Cthulhu like 4 times in control matchups. Like you actually can't lose to fatigue decks. You just go Cthulhu Shadow Step, Cthulhu Shadow Step, Cthulhu Brewmaster, Cthulhu, and you do it over and over. And beyond that, you can just like Shadow Step. Blade of Cthulhu in the slow matchups, you go infinite with Shadowcaster Bran a lot of times.
Dude, that's awesome.
If you Shadowcaster with Bran. Yeah, I did that on stream a few times.
Yeah.
It's fun to play. Once you get infinite with Shadowcasters, you have infinite life with Farseer, infinite Disciple triggers, infinite Van Cleefs. There's a lot of cool stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, it's super fun to play. It's I don't know if it's the best version of Rogue, but it made me think about just how powerful like Shadow Step is as a card nowadays. And yeah, I think the really elegant part of this list that makes it so powerful is the like tight Cthulhu package, because it's only 4 cards and it's so absurdly powerful. You still regularly get 20 plus attack Cthulhu's, but you're not playing River Crocolisk in your deck. You're just playing card draw and removal. So it's been really fun. And then there's like I've tried different builds of it, right? You can do like a dragon package in this deck where you're using like Netherspite Historians instead of Novice, and then you get all the strong dragons, and it has like a better mid-range game plan. And then there's like a menagerie list I had where I'm playing like Jeweled Scarab instead of Novice, and then Curator. Corrupted Seer is just like Dark Iron Skulker. Corrupted Seer is a really powerful Shadow Step effect in a lot of matchups. So
Yeah, that's good.
there's a lot of builds. I don't know what the best one is, but I think it is competitive. So I've been liking it.
That looks really cool. I'm kind of like
It's
we had a
watching
lot
you
of
play it.
attempts at making Cthulhu Rogue work a long time ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it seemed to always like gravitate towards N'Zoth after people tried and tried. Like they start to integrate more and more of the tools that N'Zoth wanted. Like for instance, Tomb Pillager, right? It's just a card you people just auto include in Rogue without even really looking at whether or not it fits the deck. It just kind of works its way in there. But it's not here, and I guess it's just staying consistent with the deck idea you've got.
Yeah. I mean, this was cool because it was actually having over 50% win rate over like 8 hours on stream, which like is super rare. No deck has that on stream. So.
That's true.
That was cool. But yeah, so somebody in chat asked what the infinite thing is. Basically, like you Shadowcaster your brand, so you have 2 brands in your hand, and then you just Shadowcaster at some point. So you end up with a hand of like 1 mana brands and 1 mana Shadowcasters. So you keep copying your brands and then Shadowcaster your Shadowcasters, and then you can just fill up a board indefinitely and copy any battlecry minions you have.
Yeah, like you were working in like Earthen Ring just to have the infinite heals too. That was really cool. Now, definitely some of those games were a lot of fun to watch, and I mean, you look like you're having a great time playing it, and that was a big part of it too, because it's a real challenging deck to play. So
yeah, it's another one of those like execution based decks. It's super complicated, like Blood Warrior. It was just like it's like too hard. If I was like a machine that could never misplay with these decks, then maybe they would have like a 75% win rate or something absurd. But the reality is they have like a 50% win rate because people are human. So I don't know. That's hard.
Yeah, Firebat, what do you think of this deck?
I think it's really cool. Yeah, I've played similar decks before, but not quite with the pandas or anything like that. I've always had, Tomb Pillagers instead of the pandas, and went the route where you try and coin with like a discounted brand or something, and then play Cthulhu with it that route to try and just get the OTK in one turn.
Yeah,
because I'm all about OTKs usually, so I always try to make it set up for the OTK instead of setting up for the infinite or the I guess 4 Cthulhu plan. But yeah, I think it's really strong, interesting. It's definitely fun to play. But these sort of decks are my favorite. I've brought Mill Rogue to tournaments. I've brought weird, janky Cthulhu Rogues like this to tournaments before. So yeah, I dig it, man. These are the fun decks in Hearthstone for sure.
That's totally cool. I started with Pillagers too, actually, because I was thinking like you, I could do discounted brand and then double Cthulhu, and it ended up like, I don't know, I just tried the Panda for shits and giggles, and it just ended up being insane. And then the Pillager made me run out of cards sometimes because you need like a lot of card draw. It's like Brewmaster Novice sounds like the worst thing in the world, and it is, but it also is like pretty okay in this deck to do because you don't have gadgets and you just need to draw so badly. But yeah, it's fun. Other than that, I've just been playing like Murlocs and stuff. That's been going super well on ladder.
What class? Just not Paladin, right? Or
Paladin, yeah.
Okay, just Paladin.
Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing exciting.
If you found another class that was Murloc, I'd be really interested to hear about.
I think Murloc aggro Paladin is a pretty good deck, but
Okay.
Murloc, control's good too. Like I don't know. I've found that Novice is so good right now because the difference in standard between the cards that are filler and the cards that actually win you games is so high. So after playing this rogue deck, I ended up putting novices and loot hoarders in, Murloc Paladin, and it's such a small change, but it just means you like always have a quality combo, and it's just like the difference between winning and losing. I'm not doing as much filler like humilities and acolyte of pains and stuff. Just like you always draw the cards that actually win you games. That's been cool.
Yeah. Novice, man. It's a long time since Novice has been good in Hearthstone, so that's refreshing to hear, man. Okay, well, I think that's all the decks. Unless you guys got any other decks you guys want to talk